All right. So you said homework was to, we had to do the lookup for the room with the specific ID, right? So last time, oh yeah, we moved those the rooms up to cave core. So inside of our cave, we went through and we built our cave parser, got our start room. But right here, when we built our rooms, we built it up in cave core, so we had it globally accessible by the rest of the world, right? So then inside of room, right here, oh yeah. So when we take exit, right now we're just telling the player nice try. What we need to do is we need to go and find the room with the destination ID that we should be going to. So that is the exit name. So an exit right now is in our list of exits, where an exit itself has a name as well as the ID of the room we need to go to. So we need to go and look that up. So first thing we need to do is search through our exits, find the room that has the exit name that we want to do, that we want to take. Then we need to grab the room ID that leads to. Then we're going to go and look up that room ID in our global list of rooms. And then we're going to remove ourselves from the current room and add ourselves to that room, right? So should be pretty easy. So number one, did I even say all that in the comment? Yeah, destination of this exit, okay. So let's find the exit first. So we've done for each loops in here before. Ever done a for each loop? I'll show you a for each loop. So instead of saying for int I equals 0, I is less than exits dot length, I plus plus, I can say for exit e in this dot the exits. So this will loop through the exits, and each time through, e will be one of those exits. So this is a nice convenient way of giving yourself a variable for each of those exits without having access to the index. I don't know which bucket number I'm currently looking at. I don't know if I'm at bucket 0, bucket 1, bucket 2. All I know is here's the first exit, here's the next, here's the next, here's the next, here's the next. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and actually is this going to break? No, we'll be okay here. So then, you know what? This is going to make it harder than it would be using just a normal for loop.
Didn't you already write that loop?
Which?
Isn't that what's right above that?
Oh yeah, I did. We already know this. So if I'm looking at the exit that I'm interested in, then I just need to go and find it. Oh, that's why we don't need to look that up. Okay. So now we just need to go and look up our rooms, right? So we can use a for each loop for that one. Ha! So for room R in, what do we call it, cave core, dot the rooms, if R dot get ID is equal to this dot the exits at bucket I dot get destination ID. So if the room I'm currently looking for, if the room with the destination ID is the room I'm currently looking at, then I want to go ahead and say R dot, add the player, what player, this dot the player. So we'll remove the player from this. Well, we haven't actually removed the player yet. So we're taking the player that's currently in this room and we're placing them into that other room. And then we'll go ahead and say this dot the player is equal to null, effectively removing the player from this room. And then we can go ahead and break. Well, actually, what we can do is go ahead and return true. We have successfully moved into the destination room. So once we know the exit we're looking for, so I don't need this anymore. I don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. So once we know the exit we're looking for, we'll go ahead and find the room associated with that ID, add this player to that room, remove the player from the current room, and return true that the move happened successfully. All right. Otherwise, if we made it all the way through this for loop and we're still kicking, then that means that there was some sort of problem. So we can say this dot the player dot display, let's say destination room not found or something like that. A little error message for us. Hopefully, since we're building our cave from the JSON, it should all that should never happen, but we still need to cover our butts for it. All right, so that should do it. Now we should be able to move back and forth between those two rooms. So we have a room to the north, take that. We've entered room 2. We have a room to the south, take that. We're back in room the other one. So was that the homework assignment? All right. So what's next? Now we are in our cave. We'd like to be able to create some rooms, right? So if I go to the, so I'm in our cave entrance here. Did I build in a look? Oh, didn't. We just assume everything's up there. No destination, name that dude. All right. So we probably want to be able to add in a room that another exit to this room, and then be able to build that room, and then maybe able to export the JSON. So let's start being able to do that. So for starters, we need to go back to, did we put those commands inside of player? Is that where we're taking exits and stuff like that? Or yeah. Right now we just assume that every response the user gives us is an exit. So let's go ahead and just quickly teach him how to maybe do a look. So if user response dot equals ignore case look, in a lot of games look just says show me the display of this room again, because sometimes you get so much text on the screen that that you forget kind of where you are or what exits are available. So what should that do? That should just show, where are we doing that look? When a player enters the room, we currently tell the player, oh, we do all this stuff. You have entered this room. So we probably want to be able to, does the player know what room they're in? They do. So let's create a private function in here, private void display to user. And then we'll do that stuff. So we'll just paste that in there to display to user. And then in here we'll say this dot display to user. All right, so we just put that inside of a function. That way we can call it multiple times. And we actually need this to be public because I need to be able to call it from within player. A player, when we type in look, a player needs to be able to ask the room they're currently standing in to show us the new, to show us this room again. And we can do that by asking the room to display. Actually, let's just do display details. Let's call that to user. So we'll call upon that function whenever a player first enters the room. We can also call upon that function inside of player. If a player says look, they can say this dot, what is it, current room dot display details to user. else we'll pretend like they told us we were looking at an exit. So now the word look has just become off limits for the name of an exit. We're not actually checking for that, but it has become off limits because we're going to check to see if the user has issued the command look first. So now if I come down here and run this and I type look, it's going to show me that same stuff again. If I type in north, it goes to the north. South goes here. If I do look, it shows me that again. So, you know, as we have monsters coming in and out of the caves and stuff like that, we'll see sometimes the text will get jumbled up. Not going to be a problem when we port this over to Android, right? Did anybody? I did mention that last time, right? So if anybody's interested in like doing either an independent study or even if you don't need the credit, just interested in the project over Winterim, I think it'd be kind of cool to get a group of students together that takes this and turns it into an Android app. So if you're interested, do let me know. At this point, nobody has shown interest. Is it a stupid idea? Seems kind of fun, doesn't it? Don't you want to spend your entire Winterim programming? Really? We got something better to do? See, I'm going to be on a cruise ship with the new iPad Pro playing Hearthstone.
Really that big?
Oh, it's huge.
That?
Yeah, I mean yeah, it is. It's a 12-inch iPad. It's almost twice the size of the current one. I mean, in terms of, it's like, you think about like a pizza. Like a small pizza to a large pizza has like a lot more surface area. It's like that.
Do you have internet on the boat?
Huh? They do this new. I'm supposed to get they probably didn't have it when they had the crap internet then, right?
I don't think they had any.
Yeah, they had internet because they've had internet for years on boats, but it's like really bad. Like my wife, she likes to check in on our cats, and because our neighbor watches our cats for us, and so she buys they sell you like a number of minutes for the internet, and it's like to send an email is like a 25-minute process. It was ridiculous, but apparently the thing's supposed to have basically like broadband cable modem speeds now. Like you can do like video chats and stuff from the boat. So we'll see. Okay, so in any case, we want to be able to now do some building. So we want to be able to add a room to our world. So adding a room is going to mean that we need to create an exit for starters, right? So let's start off by doing that, and the exit's going to have no room destination at first. What should that command be? Go back into player. So else if user response dot equals ignore case. Actually, let's make this guy case sensitive. They have to type in the command correctly. Equals create yeah, we'll do it a little prompty like this. All right, so we'll say create exit. So if they type in create exit, that's going to take them into kind of an expert system that's going to ask them all the information that we need to know for this exit. So initially, let's just let's just ask for the name of the exit. Okay, so we'll do a little. Here. We'll always use our display to user. So this dot display to user creating exit. This dot display to user. Please enter the name of the exit. Okay, and then we're going to show them, oh, this is the show prompt thing, right? Yeah, I think we need to do it all in here. It's going to be a little bit ghetto, but that's okay. So now we'll go ahead and we'll do this dot input dot next line. So that should read in from the user. And just arbitrarily, we're going to do a system.out.print, and we're going to give them a prompt, just like we did before. And then we'll go ahead and grab the user response here. So we're going to ask them, what's the name of the exit? We'll give them a prompt. We'll read in the name of the exit. And then what we need to do is we need to expand the current room we're in with a exit with that new name. Make sense? Because the current room we're in is now going to have a brand new exit. Now, we're going to have a second part to this in a minute that's going to say, okay, that exit also needs to lead somewhere. So right now we're going to have one of those doors that has a stone wall behind it. It's not going to actually go to a place. So now we need to teach a room, this guy, how to add an exit. So to add an exit, he currently has a list of exits, an array of exits. So we're going to have to build a brand new array that's one bigger than the original. This is a weakness of arrays. Next semester we'll learn about linked lists and we'll do this a little bit better, but for right now this is good enough. And then the constructor for exit. Right now our only constructor for exit is built with a JSON object because we're only building our exits using our initial JSON. But now we want to be able to build exits programmatically and then in the end export our cave back to JSON. Make sense? So we've already built our cave out of JSON. Now we're in the cave working with actual real objects, rooms and exits and players and all that stuff. So I want to add a brand new exit object, not giving it JSON, but giving it, here's the name and the destination ID of this exit. So let's give ourselves a second constructor, and this guy will take in a string name and an int destination ID, and we'll say this dot name is equal to name, and this dot destination ID is equal to destination ID. All right, so that'll create a new exit for us, and then outside of that, the exits will work identically. So now I have two separate ways of creating exits. So now back in room, we're going to have a function called addExit. Public void addExit. All right, and addExit is going to, for right now, let's just have it taken a name. We're going to have to figure out what's the right way to give it a destination room. So we're going to give it a name, and then give it a room ID of 1, just because we know that exists. Yeah.
I think you already have addExit started at the bottom.
Do I? Woot. All right. Thank you. So do you see how hip and cool I am because I use Woot in real time like that? I saw the eye roll. Do people say Woot anymore? It's not a thing? I'm telling you, I'm getting old. Well, they said it back. Back. Huh?
It came and went.
Did it? Like how long ago? Has the world literally passed me?
I think so.
When I started teaching, I was like, your age. How old are you?
21.
20. Yeah, I was your age when I started teaching. We said Woot back then.
That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, man. So it's no longer, it's sad is what you're saying. It's no longer cool, it's kind of sad. It's kind of like I've been practicing the sand volleyball digs.
You could say woot after you dig a ball.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be capable of it. They're putting me on the stretcher on the way to the hospital. It's going to take 3 or 4 people to drag me off the sand. It was a funny story last time we were down in Florida. Because I go to my wife, there's evidence of this. My wife is kind of a prude. Uh, and this story is actually related to that because so we were at one of the beaches and this was the day after I caught that shark. I told my wife I was going to go and catch his brother with my bare hands. So I go in, I go into the water. So, but my wife won't even walk onto the sand. She doesn't want to get sand in her shoes. So she's sitting over by the boardwalk thing on the bench. And some like 90-year-old lady comes up to her, just like talking to her, just like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And she's pointing out my husband's in the water. He's like, "Well, why aren't you out there?" And this 90-year-old woman called my wife a prude, and she's like complaining to me like I should be mad at this woman. I just started laughing. It was so funny. What was I doing? Oh, talking about my wife being a prude. That's right. All right, so add exit. So we're going to take in a name, and then no longer is this going to be a room destination. It's now going to be an int destination ID. Okay, we're going to need those two pieces of information to build a new exit, right? So very first thing we need to do is we need to create a local variable here that's going to be our new array of exits. That's going to be one bucket bigger than our old array of exits. Completely inefficient, but this is what we know how to do at this point. All right, so I'm going to create a exit array called temp exits, and this guy's going to be a new exit array of size this dot the exits dot length plus one bigger than the current guy. Okay, now I want to go through all of the current exits and copy them into temp exits. And I know that temp exits will have enough buckets to hold all the current exits and then one extra blank one at the end. Okay? Because temp exits is one bigger than the exits. So I'm going to go through the exits and I'm going to say temp exits at bucket I gets this dot the exits at bucket I. So I'll copy all of the pointers that are in the exits over into temp exits. Then I want to create my new exit using the name of the destination ID, and I want to put that guy into temp exits at bucket temp exits dot length minus one, the last legal bucket in there. So I'll say temp exits at bucket temp exits dot length minus one. That's the last legal bucket in temp exits. I'm going to set that guy equal to a new exit built using my brand new constructor that takes in a name and a destination ID, whatever name and destination ID I passed in right here. Okay, so we'll add that to our temp exits. Then finally, we'll say this dot the exits is equal to temp exits. Exits. Like that. All right, so I'll replace this room's array of exits with my newly built array of exits that has one extra exit on it. Okay, that's what I'm doing in here. Build a new array, a little bit bigger than the old one. Fill the new one with all the contents of the old one. Add the one new exit to the end of the new one, and then overwrite the old one with the new one. Make sense? What that guy's doing? So that's going to be our add exit. So let's go back into player now. So right now we're just reading in the name of the exit from the player. We'll just assume it goes to one of our existing rooms. Well, we're going to have to come up with a way to pick the room here in a second. So we'll go ahead and say, so now we've read in the exit, and we're not going to check to see if it's equal to look or create exit for that matter. Okay, we're just going to assume the user knows how to not name their room, the names of the exits to match any of our other commands. Just keep it as simple as possible here. Because right now our complexity for us is that we have a zillion files, right? So let's not throw any other, complexities in there. So we'll go ahead and we're going to say this dot what is it called? Current room dot add exit. The exit we're going to add is the user response, and the destination ID we're just going to pass in a 1 for right now. It'll always lead to that room, the room with ID 1 that we just happen to know exists. Okay. That is what the room that has the exit to the south, I think. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we're done with that. So let's go ahead and do this. So now we'll go into our cave. It'll read in our cave from the JSON. Then we'll add an exit up or something, okay? And that's going to happen to lead into the exact same room that what North led into. But that's because we're not giving them a way to check it. And then we should be able to type in look and see now that there's two exits, one to the north and one to the up. Okay? Go ahead and run this. So there's north, and we called it create exit. That's our specialty command. We do that. It's taking us into our creating exit expert system. Please enter the name of the exit. So we're going to call this guy up. Am I actually not? Oh, I'm just not giving me the prompt yet. We're still good. It's still waiting for me to do something. It's not waiting for me to do anything. All right, we need to do this. This dot show prompt. Create exit up. There's our show prompt. Look, and now we have a new exit up. I'll go ahead and type in up, and that takes me to the room that has the exit to the south. Make sense? All right. So we want to go ahead and give ourselves the ability now to actually pick our destination room. Now, usually, if we're thinking about building a room, we don't necessarily know what our current room IDs are, right? Now, if we really wanted to create kind of like a secret portal that went to another part of the dungeon or something like that, we could give it the destination ID like we just did. Well, we hard-coded it in there, but we could ask them, do you know the room ID, or do you want to create a new room? Kind of like when you call up like tech support or something like that, and they say, if you know the extension of the person you're trying to reach, dial it now. Otherwise, create a new human being. That's not the way most of them work. But in this world, that's how it's going to work. Okay, so we're going to want to be able to generate a brand new room. Okay, so let's go ahead and for right now, let's just assume that our exits always go to new rooms. Okay, so that means that when we create an exit to up, it's going to generate a brand new room. Okay, and that brand new room is going to have to get added to our global list of rooms. He's going to get a brand new ID for that room, one that's not currently used. And then it's going to, we're going to be able to go into that room. And we probably then need to have an exit coming back so that once we move into that room, we can get back to this room. Make sense? All right, so a little bit, I guess getting a little bit crazy here. So we went ahead and we got our exit name. So let's create a string exit name in here. And this is going to be user response. All right, so we have our exit name now. Then we want to go ahead and we want to get from them the, well, actually, we want to ask them for the, well, we're going to generate a new room for them. If we're adding an exit from this room, we can presume that it should create an exit back into this room, right? So we actually just need the exit name from them, and we can do the rest of the work. We can imagine that there are some situations where we might want to have more control over this, like specifically say, I want this exit to go to an existing room, or I actually want this exit to be kind of like a trap door where you fall through and you actually can't get back. But for right now, let's just, anytime we add an exit, it creates a brand new room, and that room will also then have an exit inside of it that leads back. So we'll have to name the exit coming back. So we're going to say, use those 3 lines. So we'll call this the return exit. All right. So we'll give them the prompt. We'll read it in. We'll say string return exit is equal to user response. So that'll be the name of the exit coming back to this room. And we know what this room's ID is. It's the player's current room dot get ID. That's the ID of the current room. Okay, so we want to go ahead and build a brand new room here. We need to add that room to our cave, because remember our cave core has a list of all the rooms that exist in our cave. So we need to ask that guy for a new room probably, so the cave core can give us a room that has a unique ID. Okay. Maybe for right now we can make the assumption that our rooms are linear. So in cave core, if we have 5 rooms, that's going to be room 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the next one would be room 5. All right, so we'll allow it to be linear since we'll mostly be building our caves through code here. All right, so having said that, we want to go ahead and add a room, then add an exit. So we're going to teach cave core static add room. That's going to be static void. Right. Yeah. Add room to cave. All right, and we're going to give this guy a return exit name and a return an int return room destination ID. Those are the 2 pieces of information we need to add a new room to our cave. So we'll ask cave core, please give me a new room whose return exit is go back or jump or down, maybe up, down, okay, maybe it's down, with room destination ID equal to, in this case it would be 0, or this dot current room dot get ID, way to get back to the current room. So this guy is going to go ahead and do something very similar to what we did in the exits. That is, we're going to add one more element to our rooms. So we'll say room array temp rooms is equal to a new room array of size this dot, actually it's not this dot, it's going to be cave core dot the rooms dot length plus 1, be 1 bigger than it used to be. Then we'll go ahead and say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than cave core dot the rooms dot length I plus plus. We'll say temp rooms at bucket I is equal to cave core dot the rooms at bucket I. Then we'll go ahead and say temp rooms at bucket temp rooms dot length minus 1. The last legal bucket in there is equal to a new room. Okay, and this new room needs to get built. But right now a room can only be built using a JSON object. So now we need to go teach our rooms how to be built the old-fashioned way. All right, so what's a room? A room has a list of exits. It has a name, it potentially has a player, and it has an ID. So we need to be able to build a room given its name and given its ID. All right? So having said that, we probably want to also take in the name of the destination room. So we're going to write another constructor here, public room. This guy is going to take in the name of the room and the destination ID. The ID of the, actually not the destination ID, just the ID of the room. All right, and we'll say this dot name is equal to name. This dot ID is equal to ID. And then we're going to go ahead and have the exits be a empty array because this guy doesn't have any exits by default. And the player will also be null. So this dot the player is equal to null, and this dot the exits is equal to a new exit array of size 0. Kind of a waste of time, but necessary to keep to use our room the way it's currently being used. So this is a room whose name is name, whose ID is ID, that does not have a player in it, and that literally has 0 exits. And our exit array would tell you it has a length of 0. All right, so this is literally a waste of time, except that it will allow our add exit to work in room. So at the end, add exit will build an exit array that's 1 bigger than the original when I go to add my exit. Okay, so that's that. So now in Cave Core, right now we're taking the return exit name, and we're also taking the return room destination, but I also need to give it a string room name. So 3 pieces of information there. So to build our room, we're going to pass it room name. And let's see, what else did it take? The ID. And this is going to be cavecore.therooms.length. That is 1 bigger than the last legal bucket in the rooms. So that will be the, assuming we always build our rooms this way, it'll be guaranteed to be a unique room ID. Okay? So we are playing with a little bit of fire here, but for right now, this should be okay. So we're guaranteed to have a unique room ID, and we can put a little comment in here. Unique room ID assumes that we always build rooms with linear IDs. So that means we don't just randomly put room ID 7 when we only have 2 rooms. It's always 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, so on and so forth. All right, so we'll go ahead and add the brand new room to temp rooms. Then we're going to say temp rooms at bucket temp rooms.length -1. So that's going to be an actual room now because we just put 1 there. And we're going to tell that guy to add an exit. And that exit is going to have a name, return exit name, and it's going to have a destination, return room destination ID. That's where it's going to go back to. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add that exit into the new room we just created, and that exit is going to presumably lead back to the room that asked us to, from which we were standing in, that asked us to create this exit. Finally, we're going to say cavecore.therooms is equal to temp rooms. All right, so this is how we add a room to the cave. So we give it the name of the room, the name of the return exit, and then the room destination ID, which is going to be where we're coming back to. Return room destination ID, rather. See, that's kind of a destination, doesn't make a whole lot of sense there. Just return room ID. Let's call it that. Return room ID. So Cave Core knows how to add a room to our cave. So allow it to our global list of rooms. So back here in player, we now know the name of the return exit. We now also need to get the name of the destination room. So let's steal those lines. Please enter the name of the new room. Give them a prompt, read it in, new room name. It's going to be whatever the user response is. All right. Then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and ask our core. So add the new room to our cave core. So we'll say cave core dot add room, and he wants the new room name. He wants the return exit, and then he wants the room ID of the room we're returning to, which is going to be this dot current room dot get ID, the room I'm currently standing in. Okay, so when I create a new exit, I'm gonna add a brand new room somewhere and tell him the exit I'm telling you about comes back here to the room I'm standing in. That is my current room's ID. And the return exit name is there, the name of the room is there. So that will add that. Then we'll finally add the exit that leads to the new room here, which means that this guy really needs to return the new room ID. So let's have this guy be new room ID. We'll get returned by that. We'll have this guy then take in the new room ID for where it leads. So then up in Cave Core, after we've added the rooms, we can go ahead and return the new room ID, which is going to be the position of the last legal bucket in the rooms. Return cave core dot the rooms dot length -1. And this guy returns an int. Make sense? And we say it off of the rooms because we just finished setting the rooms equal to temp rooms. So this should return the ID of that latest room. If we want it to, we want to be more specific about it, we can do this: cavecore.therooms at bucket cavecore.therooms.length -1.getID. That'll actually return the ID. It'll ask the room for the ID that we had just assigned to it. So those two are synonyms with each other, but this is a little bit maybe clearer that we're actually asking the room for his ID, which should match the last legal bucket of the rooms. Okay. So now we'll add the exit to the room we're currently standing in, given our, what we call it, we called it exit name. So the exit we're creating is called exit name, and it's going to lead to the new room ID that was returned to us by calling add room to cave, given the new room name, the return exit name, and then the current room ID for where it should come back to. And then we'll go ahead and show the prompt, and this should give us that new room. So we should actually now be able to throw a brand new room into our cave. I don't remember if I actually hit play or not. Okay, here we go. So let's do create exit. So we're going to create an exit up. Please enter the name of the return exit. So let's say down. The name of the new room is going to be loft. Okay, we should now have that new room created. If I type look, it shows us that we have a new exit now leading up. If I type in up, it's going to take us into a new room that we just created that should be called the loft, that has a room leading back down. So you've entered loft, possible exits down, and if I follow it down, I'm back in the original room. Kind of cool? All right. So we just built our built another room onto our cave, and we can just keep doing this all we want. But the problem is if I run this again, our beautiful new room is now gone. Okay, all that hard work. In fact, we should probably do something like this real quick. This dot display to user new room created, just so they get some sort of indication that the room was built, and then we'll show the prompt again. So nothing different there. Okay, but now what we want to do, if we're happy with our creation, we would like to go ahead and export our cave back to a JSON document. Okay, so for starters, let's just have it spit that out to the screen. We're going to ask our cave to export itself. So let's have another command here. So that's our create exit command we just made. So now let's steal that real quick. Else if export. In this case, we're going to, let's just say this dot display to user exporting cave to JSON. Play here, and let's just make sure that command works. Does. All right, so now when we do export, when we type in export, what we expect to get initially is printed to the screen here the, actually, you know what? Probably want to actually just hit save. We don't want to have export, so let's just say saving the cave. We know that initially we're going to have to export it to JSON first, and then we're going to overwrite the file that we had, probably preserving the old version of the file in case something horribly went wrong. But for right now, let's just spit the correct JSON out to the screen. All right, so what does that mean? Let's go in and look at our cave JSON currently. All right, so it means that we need to ask our cave to convert itself to JSON. So in order for our cave to convert itself to JSON, it's going to have to create a JSON document that looks like this. Our cave knows about its start room ID. Okay? And then it also knows about its array of rooms. So then it's going to have to go through its array of rooms and ask each room to convert itself into JSON. So on and so forth. All right, so let's write these pieces. So we'll go into cave. So cave knows about its name. Do we actually have a name anywhere? Yeah, we don't actually store the name for our cave, so that's kind of a waste. Oh, we do it out here in driver, I think. Don't we hard code the name? Yeah, we just called that level 1. That's fine. All right, but in terms of the JSON aspect of this, we're going to write a function here in cave that will export. So we'll just call this guy to JSON. Public string to JSON. So that is a cave knows how to convert itself to JSON. Right? So a cave converting itself to JSON, we're going to start with a string answer. And we know it's going to start off looking like this. So the first several parts of it will look identically to this, except we're going to get the actual start room ID from the cave object itself. All right, so go back to cave. So this guy will start off with an opening curly brace, then start room ID. We have to do escapes on that, followed by a colon. It will concatenate onto that our ID, and our ID here should be just a number. Okay, so that means we'll ask our cave for this dot start room ID. Okay, followed by a comma, followed by rooms, followed by colon, followed by opening square bracket. Okay, but I'm actually going to leave the opening square bracket for another line. But so let's just get the comma on here for now. So concatenated with a comma. And then we'll stop answer right there. So this is kind of our header, right? And at the very end, we're going to have to say answer plus equals closing curly brace. Because that's what's at the very, very, very end of our cave. This guy right there. And then in between, we're going to build a room sandwich. Make sense? So we have our cave. So we're going to say answer plus equals rooms. Escape this, colon. And then we need to have our opening square bracket for our array. Do a space up there. I did not. So we'll just do our opening square bracket there. And then here we'll say answer plus equals closing square bracket. And then the middle, we're going to build our sandwich. That means we're going to go through all of the rooms associated with this cave. And those rooms live in cave JSON. All right. So what are we going to do? We're going to say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than cave JSON dot, oh, not cave JSON, cave core, sorry, dot the rooms dot length I plus plus. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to continually concatenate on to answer each rooms to JSON. So we need to teach a room concatenate onto answer the JSON version of each room. Okay? So we'll concatenate on the JSON version of each room, and in order to do that, we need to go in and teach rooms how to convert themselves to JSON. So inside room, we're going to have a public string to JSON. And let's look at what a room looks like. This is a room. What I've highlighted there, right? So our cave currently has 2 rooms in it. A room looks like that. A room has an ID, it has a name, and then it has an array of exits. Go ahead.
Are we not able to use any of that export stuff we wrote previously?
Well, we probably, let's think about this. Not really. This is going to be mostly based on that. But if you remember, that wasn't really very difficult to write, that thing. And the reason for that is because things that used to be called JSON objects and JSON variable, string variables, that kind of stuff, are now named caves and rooms and exits. And
So could you go back to converting them to JSON objects instead of exporting them directly? I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be better.
Yeah, no, you're right. We probably could do that. Let's think about that, actually. Yeah. A JSON variable has so we can fill up a bunch of variables. And let's think about this in terms of a JSON object. I'm sorry, JSON string variable. I can build him with a name and a value. So each room has a name and a value. Then a array variable just has a name, and then we add a JSON object to it. Well, there's 2 sides to this. If we convert it back into JSON objects, those guys, it probably then gives us more flexibility to add stuff to our world later on. Yeah, actually, I think I like your idea. Otherwise, we're basically creating a proprietary solution for just our caves here. Where, like you said, we already know how to export something back into JSON. We just need to put it back into JSON objects. And we have constructors for all those things, so why should we sit here and fart around with all these concatenations and things like that? All right. I think we're gonna go with your idea. So let's go back to cave here. And let's gut this. So in order to create, to convert our cave into JSON, we're going to create a JSON object. Because at the top level, we're dealing with an object. And a JSON object looks like this. It has a collection of variables, and it has a cur size. So we'll start off with an empty JSON object. So JSON object, the obj, is equal to a new JSON object. Like that. Okay, so now we have a blank object that we can build onto. Very first thing is we're going to add a variable to that guy. The variable is going to be our start room ID, whatever we actually called that guy. Let's see, where is it here? Okay, JSON. Yeah, start room ID, this dude. So we'll say the obj.add variable, and the variable we're going to add is going to be a new JSON number variable, and this guy's going to take in the name, start room ID, and in this case the value, this dot start room ID. So we just added that variable to our JSON object. Then we want to add another variable to our JSON object. So the obj.add variable, and this new variable is called rooms, and he's going to be a JSON array. Okay, a JSON array guy. So before we could add this variable, we need to go and build our array. So let's do JSON array variable, we'll call this guy the rooms, is equal to a new JSON array variable. And JSON array variables, I think, just take the name, rooms. Let's check that real quick. Yep, just the name. And then we have the ability to add things to it. So we can add a JSON object. Okay. And then at the very end here, we'll say the obj dot add variable. Yeah, that's right. The rooms. So that'll add that array there. So in the middle, we need to fill our the rooms variable. So that means we need to go through each of our rooms. So for room R in cave core dot the rooms. So we finally get to use our for each loop. So for each room in our rooms, what are we going to do? We're going to add to, so we're going to do the obj, I'm sorry, not the obj, the rooms dot add JSON object, and the JSON object we're going to return is r dot get JSON object. So we're going to teach each room how to give us the JSON object version of itself. All right. So we're going to have to write this function now for our rooms. So rather than being called toJSON, we'll call it getJSON_object. So a room is also a JSON object. So let's look at what a room looks like. Here's a room. So it's going to be a blank JSON object that then has an ID, it has a name, and then it has exits, which is an array. Okay. So we'll say JSON object, the obj is equal to a new JSON object, blank object. Then the obj dot add variable. First variable we're going to add is a number variable for ID is equal to 0. Well, ID is equal to whatever the ID of this room is. So it's going to be a new JSON number variable, passing it the name, which is ID, and the value, which is this dot ID. That's our JSON number variable. That's how we build them. This guy right here. He's built using the name of the variable and the integer value of that variable. Okay. Too many files. So we just did the ID. Now we need to do the name. The obj dot add variable, new JSON string variable. Name is name, value is this dot name. Yeah, this is definitely better than what we were doing before. Definitely better. All right, so that's our name. Finally, go back to our cave JSON. We're going to have our exits. And what's an exit? Exit's going to be an array. So we need to go ahead and build our JSON array of exits. We'll call it the exits. JSON array called the exits. This is going to be a new, it's actually a JSON array variable, right? Variable called the exits. This is going to be a new JSON array variable whose name is exits, like that. And then, what are we doing here? We have to go through all of our exits for this guy. So we just created the blank array. Now we need to loop through our array of exits and add JSON objects to that array of exits. So we need to teach an exit how to return its JSON object. So we'll say for exit E in this dot the exits. So we'll go through all of our exits and we'll say the exits dot add JSON object E dot get JSON object. Okay, so we'll, just like rooms know how to convert themselves into JSON objects, exits now need to know how to convert themselves into JSON objects. So we'll steal this method header here. We'll go into exit. We'll teach an exit how to convert itself into a JSON object. Go back into room. After we've gone through and done that, we'll go ahead and say the obj.add variable, the exits. So that'll finish all of our exits after we teach exits how to do this. So this is back inside of room. Okay. So room is going to create a blank JSON object. The obj is equal to a new JSON object. Like that. And what is an exit? An exit is two pieces of information, a name and a destination ID. Name destination ID. So this one's pretty simple. So we'll say the obj.add variable, and this one's going to be a new JSON string variable, passing it name and this dot name, and then the obj.add variable, new JSON number variable, passing it, was it destination ID, and this dot destination ID, and then we can return the obj. That's it for our this guy's not a string anymore. He's now a JSON object is what he returns. Okay, so that's our exit. Our exit returns a JSON object. A room can now add its variable for exits and then ultimately return a JSON object. Return the obj. And then a cave can ultimately return the object as a JSON object. So we can ask a cave for that. And then now in our player, see, does cave core know about the cave? He doesn't. He just knows about the rooms. So we probably want to have a static cave, the cave, up top here, inside of cave core. And then we first build a cave. We will let cave core know about this cave. So cave core dot the cave is equal to this. So we just kind of threw a pointer to our cave up to cave core. That way our player can access it right here. When we say saving the cave, for right now what we're going to do is we're going to do a this dot display to user cave core dot oh, do we make it private? No, the cave dot to JSON dot export to JSON. That guy, which should be our string. That's the thing we'd already written. All right, so now if I build a room and then I hit save, it should spit out to the screen that JSON. All right, so let's do create exit, up, down, the loft. New room is created. I'll type save. Here is our JSON for that new room. There's our cave entrance. So just to test to see if this worked correctly, I'll copy all of that. I'll go into our cave JSON here. It's going to look ugly, but I'll paste that in there. We'll rerun our program now. And you see we still have the room up there. So now it saved it. Okay. So last thing we'd want to do is we want to be able to write back out to our file, saving it, okay, updating our file with the new stuff. So we're going to do some file I/O stuff. We're going to do a file writer. Actually, this will be a very good exercise. See if you guys have learned how to read documentation. Should not be very difficult. I don't really want to do it that way. I want to give you an easier way to do it. So what we want to do is we want to write out, this is going to be inside of java.io. Let's use a print writer. So what a print stream will do. I think that will do it. Okay. Yeah, we'll do it with a print stream. So using print stream, okay, we're going to go ahead, and you'll actually notice print stream is pretty related to system.out.println. Out's a print stream. Write out our new JSON overwriting the existing file. Okay, so I'll put up a link to print writer. If you want to do it a different way, I'm going to do it. With that rather. If you want to do it with something other than print stream, you can. But I would encourage you to use print stream. That's what we're going to do in class. So look at the documentation, understand how print streams are built. Here's the constructors. Understand how they're used. So one of the ways we can build a print stream is with a file name. We've read stuff in with given a file name. Now we're going to create a print stream to write something out to that same file name. All right? And then actually write to it to save that file. Make sense? All right, so I'll put that up on, I'll upload our latest code so you have a working copy, and then I'll put that on Blackboard, and I'll see everybody on Tuesday.